now we've lost Alex Marquez. These conditions are just getting worse by the second, aren't they? And as the riders push the limit, push themselves to the limit to try and find a lap time that they hope will be front row or pole position. Alex Marquez had just gone into second place with a 2:15.771, and what, 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, this is what happens. Into the first corner he goes, and that rear tyre just stepping out from underneath him, nothing he could do about that whatsoever. Miller then still leads it with that astonishing 2:15.629. Frustration then inside Gresini Ducati. They saw the Gian Antonio crash in the first corner in Q1. That's what curtailed his hopes of getting through. Pecco Bagnaia then had started to plummet down the field after his crash. He's fourth now, bumped off the front row. A front row which features Miller, Marquez and Bezzecchi. This is Pecco Bagnaia then. This is down the end of the Wellington Straight, isn't it? Oh, look how quickly that front went from underneath him. The front just locked there.
Yeah, and lucky we've got lots of runoff because that was a fast crash.
Yeah, that's going down into Brooklands, isn't it? Marco Bezzecchi then, just over 4 minutes remaining. This is almost turning into a battle of survival, isn't it, as Alex Marquez sprints back towards the garage. He's going to be desperate to try and get out for that second bike. At the moment, he won't know. As it stands, he's still in second place and on that front row of the grid. Marco Bezzecchi, though, is on the charge here. Fastest through the first 3 splits. Hasn't got much time to play with, though, here as he drops down towards Vale. 3 corners to go for the Rain Master in Argentina right at the start of the season, when we headed down to South America immediately after the season opener in Portimao. Bezzecchi then, 0.04 of a second he was up through the first 3 splits. Miller's 2:15.629 under pressure, and Bezzecchi has beaten it. That was a great 4 sector, wasn't it? From the man who's third in the World Championship. What a second season Marco Bezzecchi's having in MotoGP, and he now takes over top spot, trying to make it back-to-back poles, of course. He was the pole man at the Dutch TT in Assen before we headed off on our long 5-week summer break, and Bezzecchi now back at the top, over 1/4 of a second clear of Miller. Marini, well, his hopes of a front row, they have disappeared because he's another victim of turn 1. Turn 1's catching a few guys out, Simon, no question.
Yeah, it looks like the speed you go through there, it looks like they hit water to me. It's either when they're first touching the throttle or the water's deep and they get a bit of aquaplane, and you know, the wider rear tyre doesn't cut through that water and down the road. Matt, I'm really surprised more aren't going faster. It seems like 15, when they get to 2:15, they have those problems. It's like if they try to go faster, they fall. So because of that, Bagnaia is not in as bad a position as I would have expected right now. You know, I thought the goalposts would keep moving, but it looks like that's the wall, as you said. That water's stopping.
Well, Bagnaia has gone into full Italian Olympic sprinter mode here, but it's going to be too late. He's not going to be able to get out. He did his best, but he knows that the clock's ticked down, and he's just said, no, there's no point. No point. Look at his frustration.
Bezzecchi's going quicker again, slightly. Matt, he surprised me watching him. I know this is right on the edge of danger, and he looks so confident. I haven't seen one scare, I don't want to jinx him, but he looks fantastic, you know. You see the others looking tentative, and he looks like comfortable.
That was a trait, that was a real feature which stood out for me, Simon, when he won in such dominant fashion in Argentina. Yes. That motorcycle just looked like it was on rails. He did not make a single mistake, never looked like he was going to fluff his lines and throw away that chance to take his first victory. Now they're just having to cool down Pecco Bagnaia. Now that is Bezzecchi's motorcycle.
No.
And it's second hand.
It is.
Now where's the rider? Of course, primary concern is for Marco Bezzecchi. Thankfully, he's on his feet. Well,
oh yeah, that scared
me.
Talk
about the commentator's curse.
Yes,
exactly. Sorry about that, Marco Bezzecchi. Mini VR46.
It's got to be a fast section
into Vale.
The old front. Look at that.
Locking in a straight line.
Yes, that pretty much shows that that the water's getting deep.
Well, he might, when all's said and done, despite turning a GP22 into a second-hand motorcycle, actually take a consolation prize, a pole position in back-to-back races. I'm just looking at the timing screens now, 30 seconds remaining, and of course the yellow flags are out. That could be it. That late tumble, the front locking at high speed when he was bolt upright, Marco Bezzecchi, down the hill into turn number 16. It's a tricky braking zone, that, in the dry conditions, let alone in these perilous wet conditions. So for the second time of the weekend, Marco Bezzecchi on the floor here at Silverstone, but it looks like he is going to take pole position.
Matt, that was a pretty good example of when you hit a puddle and it feels like ice. You know, there's just, you're along for the ride, no grip at all.
Yeah, he'd have been caught cold by that one, wouldn't he? Trying to pick out through the spray. Pecco Bagnaia, well, he's gone back out for one reason and one reason only, just to have a practice start. He'll be livid, though, because Pecco Bagnaia, let's just have a look. Well, I say livid, but nobody's been able to inflict some serious damage on Bagnaia, despite his mistake a few laps ago. He's only been dropped back down to 4th place. It could have been a lot worse.
I totally agree. Matt, if it had got less deep, he would have suffered a lot.
He would have done indeed. It does look like, though, that despite his late drama, Marco Bezzecchi is going to take pole position. So they're smiling about it in Munivio 46, but the mechanics are going to have a very, very busy lunch break, because it was a pretty second-hand Ducati, wasn't it? And they'll need 2 bikes for the 10-lap sprint coming up later on this afternoon. Alex Marquez, then, despite his late drama, just, what, seconds after he'd taken 2nd place in the standings, Alex Marquez is going to find himself starting from the front row of the grid in 3rd place. The early pace setter, the man who was flying out of the gate in that Q2 session, was Australian Jack Miller with that 2:15.629.